Hi, my name is Don Hovis. I'm one of the production managers here at the Kauffman Center. My job is to, if one of the shows that's incoming show, we advance the show, so we will get in touch with the tour manager or the road manager and find out what they need as far as lights or sound or any production things that they need, and we will get that solved and ready for them for when they get here. And then we handle their show and the loadout during the show, during the day, and then the loadout, and then we move on to the next show. So what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today is flying scenery. So when we have a theater show on stage in Muriel Kauffman Theatre, we have scenery a lot of times, and that scenery is either pushed on stage or off stage. Sometimes it stays on stage, and sometimes the scenery flies in and out. And so when that scenery flies in and out, we are going to learn today a little bit about how that happens. So that happens with what we call the fly system. And so the fly system operates a little bit like a teeter-totter. If you've seen a teeter-totter in the playground, you know it works best when it's in balance, right? One person sits on one side, one person sits on the other side, and when that teeter-totter works the best is when it's perfectly balanced, right? One side goes up, and when that side's up, the other side is down. Well, the fly system is a lot like that. So one side of the fly system is the operating rail here, and the one side of the teeter-totter would be where we stack weight on these frames, which are called arbors. All right, and so when we have a piece of scenery that we hang on a pipe or a batten, that scenery weighs a certain amount of weight, 600 pounds, 800 pounds, whatever it is. We stack that much weight on this arbor, and then we're in balance. We get as close as we can. So these weights are 20 pounds or 40 pounds each. There's two sizes of weights. So we get within 20 pounds of the weight of the scenery, and for our system, that's pretty good to be imbalanced. Okay, so we have the counterweight arbors. We have the weights on the arbor, the counterweights, and if you'll notice, some of these counterweights are this reddish brick color. Some are painted yellow. Well, the ones that are painted yellow always stay on the arbor because we have the cable weight and the pipe that always stays on one side of the teeter-totter, right? So we never want to be unbalanced. The most important thing when you're operating a line set fly system is that we stay in balance the whole time. We never want to be we never want to be out of balance. Just like on a teeter-totter, you don't want to jump off one end of the teeter-totter and the other side comes crashing down. Well, that's our goal here, is to always stay in balance. So if the pipe always stays out there, we always need to keep the amount of pipe weight on the arbor so that even when there's nothing on the pipe, we're still in balance. These line sets are all line sets that we can operate scenery with. So we can hang lights or curtains or scenery on all of these line sets. And each one of these line sets goes up to the grid and across and down and up and operates a pipe that I'll show you in just a minute. We have about 90 line sets. There are a couple that are not in use for one reason or another, just the specifics of the building. I will fly one of these in and we will see it operate. So we have an operating line here, and this is how I operate the line set. That line goes from the top and bottom of the arbor. It goes from the top of the arbor all the way up, around a pulley, down the front, around a pulley at the bottom, and up and attaches to the bottom of the arbor on the other side. So if I had the operating line goes through a rope lock right here, and so when I lower this lever, that rope lock kind of holds it in place so it doesn't move when we don't want it to move. So I take the rope lock off and I can pull the line set in by moving this operating line, and we can see the pipe coming in now. And this pipe has nothing on it. here we are on stage. This is the pipe, or sometimes it's called a baton. And this is where we hang the scenery. Okay, and we just flew it in, and it comes down to here, and this is where we would load the scenery onto the pipe. This type of batten is called a ladder batten. Some theaters have ladder battens. Some theaters just have one single pipe. This has a pipe on top and a pipe on bottom, and it's connected by these metal pieces, which make it look kind of like a ladder. So this helps it so that when we put heavy weights on it, it doesn't bend or deflect as much. And then also when we hang lights on it, we will hang lights on the bottom pipe, and then we can tie the cables that plug in the power to the lights. We can tie that along the top pipe of the batten. So this batten we hang the scenery on, and then we have a lift cable, right? And so this lift cable, it's galvanized aircraft cable. It goes all the way up, and if we can see the grid is what we hang the weight of all of these pipes from. And so these lines, you go up and through the grid, and you can kind of see the grid, and we'll go up there in a minute and see where these pipes go when they go up to the grid. Here we are up on the loading gallery. We can see on stage, we got our pipe that we brought in that we were going to hang scenery on. You can see it down on stage. That's one half of the fly system. It's one half of the teeter-totter that's down. When that side is down, that means that this side, the arbor, is up in the air, right? So we get to the arbor by the loading gallery. So we come up to the loading gallery. We see the arbor here. The pipe is down, the arbor is up. And we've hung our scenery, 500 pounds, whatever it is, on the pipe. We need to put that same amount of weight on the arbor. So a crew person comes up to the loading gallery. They'll take the safety chains off wherever the arbor is located. We have stacks of stage weight up here. We stack the stage weight onto the arbor, about the same amount, right, within 20 pounds. And then our system is in balance, and we can operate the pipe safely in balance, and we can do whatever cues we need to do with the scenery flying in and out. So one other thing that we notice up here, we can actually see a lot of these pipes in relation to each other and see that they're 6 inches apart. One reason why it's good to have so many pipes and have them at 6 inches apart is it gives the designers, lighting designers, scenery designers, more options to place the scenery and the lights so that they can get the exact effect they want on stage. These pipes, again, we said have galvanized aircraft cable that lift them up and operate them. It used to be operated with hemp rope instead of galvanized aircraft cable. So that brings me to a little bit of history. You may or may not know of a superstition backstage that it is bad luck to whistle on stage. Well, that comes from back in the old days when they first started doing theater and having scenery flying in and out. They would use, instead of galvanized aircraft cable, they'd use hemp rope because there was not galvanized aircraft cable. And the people that were good at using the rope and tying the knots and operating that were sailors. And the way sailors would on their boats communicate with sandbags coming in and yard arms flowing back and forth were whistles. So if you whistled, you literally could have a sandbag dropping on your head backstage because they might think it was a cue. So it was bad luck to whistle on stage. Here we are up on the grid. We were on stage with the pipe, and we said the lift lines that come up from the pipe go up to the grid. Well, here's the grid, and we see our lift lines coming up from, so this is the line that comes up from the pipe. It comes up to these loft blocks, or pulleys on the grid, and they all go across to that side of the stage, and then they go across a head block on that side and down to the arbor, right? And so we can see, if we look across, we can see all of these lines are these lift lines that come up and come across the stage and operate the line sets. And we have all of these different lift lines for all of the different line sets. So one other thing that we do up here, sometimes we have scenery that we don't want to hang on a line set. We want to hang a specific point somewhere for a specific cue. For example, the tree cue in the Nutcracker, the Kansas City Ballet. That tree is a specific point, and there's one line that lifts that tree up. And so we'll use a chain motor over here to do that. And so the chain motor is on a stand, and we can move that stand anywhere, pretty much anywhere on the grid. And it has a single point that comes down, and then we can lift scenery with that single point. Or another way we use the chain motors is sometimes a road show will come in and it will have all of its lighting and sound and effects on a truss that's already put together, that's pre-made, and they just wheel the truss off of the truck with all the lights on it. Then we will hang several chain motors up here on the grid that all have chains that come down, attach to the truss, and pick the truss up. So sometimes the road shows operate that way. And that's a little bit about what we do up here on the grid. So almost all of our line sets are manual line sets. That means that we have to have a crew person that operates the line set to make it go in and out, right? Some theaters have automated line sets. There's actually motors and computers that control which line sets, when they go in and when they go out, and they can program cues and have things operate all together or in sequence or any number of ways for whatever the cue demands for the show. We have one line set that is automated, and it's our main curtain. And so I'll show you how that operates. It still has the arbor, right? So one side of the teeter-totter, the arbor is still here. We have a cage around it because when it operates pretty quickly, we don't want somebody to get in the way of it and it to come crashing in, because the motor doesn't care if somebody's in the way. The motor will not stop until the control panel tells it to stop. So we want to make sure we're safe and we don't have arms or hands or anything in the way that this comes barreling in, right? So there's a cage around the arbor, but we still have the counterweight on there, and it always stays the same because the only thing we ever hang on this pipe is the main drape, and so the weight stays the same. So the lines go up like the other lines in the other line sets, across and down to the curtain, and then we have a control panel here that operates it. And so we have different cues set up for different speeds, have the curtain operate at different speeds, or we can control it manually and make it go in a varied speed. It's not as smooth that way. It's better with this system if we program it to a certain speed and have it operate like that. So now I'll show you the fastest speed that we have, and this is what we use the most often for the end of a show. Or a lot of times the ballet or the opera will bring it in and out at the end of the show for curtain calls. So here comes the curtain coming in. And there's the curtain in. Now that's pretty quick. It's not, maybe we could do it that fast with a person operating it, but a lot of times at the end of a show for a curtain call, they'll go in and out and in and out a lot of times in succession. And that could be kind of tiring. And then also in a show, if it's a cue, we want it to look the same as every time, as close to being the same as possible. And we can get a lot more repetition, the same repetition with a cue that's programmed, rather than somebody who's doing it and does it 8 or 9 times. It gets tired and it slows down a little bit. So here we'll show you the curtain going out. So here goes the main curtain going out. Thanks for watching this part of the video and learning a little bit about how the fly system works in the Muriel Kauffman Theatre. Please be sure to check out the other demonstrations, activities, and performances on the Kauffman Center website.